Hello and welcome to Inside HMI, the show that takes an in-depth look at people and personalities behind the scenes at HMI. My name is Wendi Eckstein. I am an HMI graduate, and it is my pleasure today to interview a gentleman who's been an HMI instructor and hypnotherapist for more than 12 years now. Ladies and gentlemen, please help me welcome Mr. Joe Leeway. Hello, Joe. Thank you for being on our show today. Oh my goodness, you've been such an influence to so many students here.
So I'm hearing, yes.
And today it is our opportunity to get to know you better.
Okay, I'm all about that. I'm very
Wonderful.
available and, yeah.
All right, so on behalf of HMI students past, present, and future, I have a few questions for you.
Okay.
Okay. So let's start from the beginning. Where were you born?
Ooh, where was I born? Some people say I was, but actually the truth is I was born in London, and in Kentish Town, in a part of London that you call it Camden. So if you go Madame Tussauds, Baker Street, and you sort of like go behind there and keep on going into, you'll come across some kind of like big gas buildings and that, and I was sort of born around there. There's a song by the Pogues, it's Dirty Old Town, and it's a dirty old town when I was, living in London.
All right, well, tell us what your home life was like.
Well, it was intriguing. I can remember that my father's Nigerian, my mother Irish, and they got together and didn't get married. And so after a couple of years I was fostered. But I can remember thinking at the time when I was living in London that I needed to make a move. One of my earliest thoughts, I've got to get out of here, which actually ended up being kind of a strategy that I have. I'm out of here. So I remember having that thought.
Okay.
Yes, and so what happened was, I think I was, so we're talking London, and outside of London, the Greenbelt, there's one of the counties is Kent, and that's where Dover is, the finger of England going down there. And then, so I went down to Kent and was raised by an English family.
Okay.
Yes, and they would have been the equivalent of grandparents kind of thing. So I was a foster kid.
Got it, got it. And so how did that shape things for you?
It shaped it a lot. I needed control and there was no control. I wasn't allowed to get angry. I was the, it was interesting because as I looked around all my surroundings, everyone was English, not black English, white English. And so there was an interesting, as I became aware of who I was, I decided a winning strategy would be, because I couldn't help but be noticed, I would become popular as I could, and just become friendly and generic and just be interesting. And I think it worked for me. So I think the environment actually gave me something which I've been able to use most of my life, and that was be interested in people, making connections, because if I didn't, they would beat the tar out of me, so it would be easier to befriend people and be funny than be a fighter, because I wasn't a fighter, because you'd be fighting all the time, So I quickly realized that was not the way to go, so let's be funny. So it shaped me in that way. So I was able to develop the skills of rapport, get interested in people. And I always had good friends, lots of friends. People would actually do the fighting for me. Oh, you're insulting my friend. Okay. I go, all right, great. And that's the way to do it.
All right. Well, our next question is, what was your first job?
Gosh, what was my first job? I had okay, so it was a government job. It was like filing, just in some kind of filing thing. And I remember thinking, wow, is this my life, And I was just basically, people would come, make a request, can we have this file? And you went and got the file, and you're supposed to put it out, and there would be, it was a very structured, because it was the government, it was the Department of Transport. So there's a right way of doing things and a wrong way of doing things. Very boring. And you could see the skeletons in the closet, because I was at the headquarters in London, which was kind of exciting because I would commute from Dartford, which is a little town just outside of London. And they're all commuter towns. They're like 20 miles out of the city. And so you'd have to run, get the train, jump on the train, and then you'd have the commute up to London. It'd be like 2 stops. But you'd be jammed in like sardines, and you get off at London Bridge, and then there'd be this stream going across the bridge. I'm thinking, am I going to make it by 8 o'clock? That kind of stuff, So it was all very controlled, very boring, and I decided to go back to school.
Uh-huh.
I thought, I'm not doing this for
How old
for
were
life.
you at this time?
Actually, I was 16 at the time. I couldn't
Okay.
stand school, so I quit, got this job, and then I couldn't stand that either, so I went back to school.
Got it, got it.
Yeah.
All right, so let me not jump ahead because that is a next question coming up, but tell us about your career choices before deciding to become a hypnotherapist.
Okay. Well, I think I fell in love with a girl, and she rejected me. And but she was in. She went to Dartmouth in England, a college, the drama college, and it made such an impression on me. I thought, I'm going to become an actor and impress her, you know, and get her back again. It made sense at the time. So I went to college, did English and theatre, and when I left. By the time I'd left, I was all about theatre. I had my, we did a lot of experimental theatre, not like Broadway or anything like that. It was asking the question, what is theatre? You know, in fact, our idea of a good performance would be if half the audience got up and left.
Oh my God.
Do you know what I'm saying? And we'd chat, and we'd have like the critic from, I mean, I could tell you tons of stories, but that experimental theatre was, that led me to having my own theatre company. And I got how I got into that was I applied for a grant from the British Arts Council. I wrote a play, got my crew together. We put on the play, and the people who came, who were going to decide if I would get the grant, said it was the worst play they'd ever seen, and I've got to be kidding. And so I said, waiter, hold on a minute. And I managed to persuade them, if I didn't ever write my own plays again and did other people's plays, would you do that? And they said, well, what have you got? And I said, well, there's this play by Atul Fugard, who's a South African director. Yeah. And we're talking at the time, South Africa was, apartheid. Yeah. And the only time blacks and whites could come together and was at the Black Serpent Theatre in South Africa with Fugard. And he was free because he was internationally famous, and they couldn't touch him. So that impressed me. So I wanted to be in theatre, make a difference, but be more political about it. So I wanted to go that way. So it was my first career choice.
Got it.
Yes.
And then continuing on
from
there.
Continuing on from there. Okay, oh, wow. Okay, so I thought, okay, let's get this good. So I decided I'm going to do mime. So I was going to go to I was going to go to Jacques Lecoq's school in Paris, and I needed to get my French up a bit because, my parlaying of Francais was schoolboy French.
Got it.
And so when I get there, I decided I've got to go to Berlitz to, so if I teach English in Paris, I can join the mime school. So I go to Berlitz, I get the gig to teach English in Paris, and unfortunately at the same time there's a strike going on. So I got fired for striking. And so that whole incident of me becoming a mime, joining a mime piece, all exploded, the whole thing. So I had to do another thing.
Which was?
So instead I went to Greece.
Okay.
To decide where's theatre coming from, let's go into Greece. So I spent a year in Greece, doing all sorts of, a little bit of gold smuggling, running cars from Yugoslavia into Athens, that kind of stuff, all the while studying theatre. But you get to know people because you're drinking in bars and the whole piece, and everyone's up to something, And so anyway, I did enough learning there, and then after a year, I became like the prodigal son. I'm thinking, God, I'm starving here. I could go back to England and just go on the dole and sign on. Why am I starving out here? So I went back to the UK. And that's when I really got serious about acting. I forgot about doing my own thing, and I went and got my own equity. I got an equity card, where you have to. You can't get the gig unless you're an equity actor. But you can't. It's that double bind piece.
It's here too. Yes.
Okay. So 52 weeks of that, I get it, and then I joined the Young Vic and the National, and I'm thinking everything's fantastic. My life as a dog in theatre is going to be what it is. Had not a lot of money, but very, very happy.
Got it.
Yeah. Completely satisfied and an artist, which is all I wanted to be.
It's all you wanted to be.
Yes.
And then you started teaching after that?
I was trained, I did a teaching course when I was at college, so that I could, fall back on that and do some of that. But really, the only real, I taught in a girls' grammar school, like 12-year-olds. I did that for a year. English.
English.
That was okay. But basically, I've only fallen back into teaching in my early part of my life, just to provide a little bridge before I did something else.
Got it,
Yes.
got it. All right. And so much more has happened since between
Yes.
there and hypnotherapy.
I'm glad you're not mentioning age, There's so much why don't you just
age
go,
has
how old were
nothing.
you then?
No.
Okay.
Age has
so
nothing
anyway,
to do with it.
So after that, the eventuality happened at the company I was with. There was a big change because it's very political in England, and they wanted one director out and one director in, and so I got fired, and
Oh my goodness.
then got an agent and went on just auditions. And I was, a standout in the company, but when it came to individually competing in like musicals, then it started to shift. I thought, I do not like. It's the first audition I'd ever flunked, actually. I was golden up to that time. Then I went for Bubbling Brown Sugar. And I tell you, you get on the stage, you get this call, and the guy goes, okay, here's the routine. We're going to do 2 steps to the left, 1 to the right, backwards, then a little twist and a turn. Kick the leg up there, and let's do it in 8 time. And let's go now, everybody. And I'm still thinking about the first instruction.
Oh my
and everyone's
goodness.
going, brrrm, like that kick. And they've got the whole thing down because they've got the dance idea.
Yeah.
And I was like, you can't fake that.
All right, well.
So that was it. No more theatre for me. It was like, I've got to find another way of expressing myself.
We're going to find out more about how you expressed yourself. It's time for a short break. Stay tuned and we'll come back and we'll continue our interview with Mr. Joe Leeway.
People say I was, but actually the truth is I was born in London. And in Kentish Town, part of London that you call it Camden. So if you go Madame Tussauds, Baker Street, and you sort of like go behind there and keep on going into, you'll come across some kind of like big gas buildings and that. And I was sort of born around there. There's a song by the Pogues. It's Dirty Old Town, and it's a dirty old town when I was, living in London.
All right, well, tell us what your home life was like.
Well, it was intriguing. I can remember that my father's Nigerian, my mother Irish, and they got together and didn't get married. And so after a couple of years, I was...
Oh my goodness, you've been such an influence to so many students here.
So I'm hearing, yes.
And today it is our opportunity to get to know you better.
Okay, I'm all about that. I'm very
Wonderful.
available and, yeah.
All right, so on behalf of HMI students past, present, and future, I have a few questions for you.
Okay.
Okay, so let's start from the beginning. Where were you born?
Ooh, where was I born?
Hello and welcome to Inside HMI, the show that takes an in-depth look at people and personalities behind the scenes at HMI. My name is Wendi Eckstein. I am an HMI graduate, and it is my pleasure today to interview a gentleman who's been an HMI instructor and hypnotherapist for more than 12 years now. Ladies and gentlemen, please help me welcome Mr. Joe Leeway. Hello, Joe. Thank you for being on our show today.